One of the big lessons that I'm learning from those most persecuted in this season of lockdown is thankfulness. You see, I think this is an opportunity for me, my family, to kick back against comfort, entitlement and comparison, and to not cave into it. And maybe that's something that you can do as well. I'm also learning to be thankful for the small things. You see, it's a bit like seeing life through a different lens these days. I'm thankful for the mundane and the ordinary. I'm thankful for standing here in my garden right now. I'm thankful for the fresh air. I'm thankful for the birds' song that wakes me up every morning. I'm thankful that I can go on one walk a day or one run a day. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the small things. I'm also learning to be thankful for the hardship, which seems pretty crazy. It seems an absolute paradox, and every natural inclination in my being is kind of fighting that. But actually there is an opportunity to be thankful in the hardship, because in this hardship, in this difficult season that we're in, there is opportunity to see God's hand, to know that actually God still has a plan, God still has a purpose, and that God very much is using this time of difficulty and danger for his good. God still is in this. And that's something that the persecuted church have learnt time and time again, that actually there's a purpose and a plan, and that actually these times of hardship and suffering can be a blessing. There can be good that comes out of these times. I'd love to tell you about Helen Bahani. She's like one of my all-time heroes in the persecuted church. Helen spent 2.5 years locked up in a metal shipping container in the Eritrean desert. Eritrea is in the Open Doors World Watch List top 10. It's like one of the most dangerous places on earth to be a Christian. It's actually known as the North Korea of Africa, which kind of hints at what it's like there to be a Christian. And Helen was locked up because she wouldn't deny her faith in Jesus. She was passionate about sharing the gospel. She in fact said this line, that Jesus Christ is the medicine of the world and he must be shared. That landed her in big trouble, and she was in the shipping container for 2.5 years. I don't know about you, but I ask God for a lot, and I tend to thank him for very little. Helen's story is a story of thankfulness. She described what it was like to be in confinement, to be locked up in a shipping container. And she said this: it was so cold that during the night you'd suffer from hypothermia. It was so hot in the day that your skin would burn at the edge of the shipping container. And the bugs that bit you felt like fire all over your body. It was full of insects. But she said this: but like driving a nail in wood, every hit, every beating drove me to God. Every hit, every beating drove me to God. And she was thankful for that. And then after a particular brutal beating, when she was thrown back in the metal shipping container, her body bleeding, broken, and just battered, completely battered, she said these words, and she began to sing. She was a worship leader, and she began to sing in the darkness and the pain. Thank you for the cold nights. Thank you for the hot days. Thank you for the hunger. Thank you for the sickness. Thank you for the bugs that bite my body. She saw the blessing in the midst of pain, persecution, and hardship. You see, I ask God for a lot, and in comparison, I thank him for very little. Helen Bahani and the millions of persecuted Christians out there, their story teaches me that actually they flip it. They thank God for a lot, and in comparison, ask him for very little. You see, I tend to treat Jesus a bit like my personal shopper. I tend to treat him a little bit more like Santa Claus than my Saviour and my Lord. And the persecuted church remind me time again of who he is and the place that he should have in my life. And they teach me that actually thankfulness is a choice every day, a choice to be thankful and to cultivate gratitude in my life. A friend of mine, a wise friend of mine, once said these words to me: if you were to wake up tomorrow with only the things you thank God for today, what would you have? If you were to wake up tomorrow with only the things that you thank God for today, what would you have? Truth is, I probably wouldn't have very much. Maybe think about that for a moment. Reflect on that. In this season of lockdown, if we're going to survive and thrive, if we're going to grow in our character and our walk with Jesus and become more like him, and that's what we're called to be a disciple and apprentice of Jesus, then we need to cultivate gratitude in our lives. We need to be thankful. And today, I just want to remind you that the persecuted church see blessing in the hardship. They know that God has a plan and a purpose in the darkness and difficulty, and for that, I am really thankful.